Welcome back to the poker vlog. This is episode number 210. For this one, we're playing pretty high stakes session at the lodge. We're on the stream, and you guys know how I've done on the stream. Not so good. So out for vengeance. But before we get into it, a few announcements. I'm going out to Durant. I'll be at Choctaw for a meetup game May 12th. That's going to be in conjunction with WPT. It's my first WPT event. So I'm super excited for that. I'll be out there May 10th through the 16th. I'm gonna be firing in tournaments as well. Then on the 16th, I'm headed out to Austin. I'll be playing the Lodge Championship Series, and we'll be doing a proper meetup game. May 22nd with Doug, Andrew, and me. And then June 4th and 5th, I'll be at the Hustler in Los Angeles doing a meetup game with Andrew. So I have more information in the description box below. Be sure to check out those details, and hopefully I'll see you at one of those stops. All right, let's go ahead and get started. Today we're going back to the lodge for a good old-fashioned Texas showdown versus my partners Doug and Andrew, plus a handful of other characters for 5, 10, 20 plus with a 5K max buy-in. Don't be fooled by the blinds. There will be a ton of straddling, and with action players in there like DQ, it'll play much bigger. I arrived at the card room not feeling super confident since during my first trip to the lodge in January, I mostly got torched on stream. Here's the graph for my sessions only at the lodge this year. You can see that at the low point, I was down about 15,000 or more. That's when my first trip ended. I didn't lose in any of my sessions for the second trip, where my graph starts going up and I got about 4,000 of it back. Coming into my third trip, we see that I was stuck $11,720 here over almost 70 hours. The first day of my third trip, I won a massive PLO double board bomb pot in 2-5 when I scooped with a rivered full house on the top board and a rivered straight on the bottom board. I wasn't filming for the vlog. I just got this clip to post on Instagram, which is wide shot vertically. With this session's win, I put a huge dent in my lodge deficit, getting back more than $2,000 of the money that I've left here. Still, that means I have over $9,000 to recover. With the session of high stakes poker that's about to begin, I'll have a chance of getting every penny back today, or perhaps I'll continue getting wrecked. The afternoon starts well because I receive an awesome gift that a viewer made and sent to the lodge. Then I buy in for $5,000. I make my way to the table. I feel like I've got a little to prove. I'm tired of losing it on stream, but I'm coming in with a lot of focus. The plan is to have a good time on the brand new stream set and play how I know how to play. We've got a great bunch of guys. I'm excited to get started.
From the Lodge Mahal in beautiful Round Rock, Texas, welcome to the Lodge live stream. My name is Slick Rick with my partner each and every week, Skull Mike. And Skull Mike, this we have been waiting for. The three amigos on the table. Tell us what we got today.
Rick, happy Wednesday afternoon. We have a good one tonight. Everyone's very excited about this lineup. Let's go around the table. Seat 1 will be Slicer. Everybody's in for 5K. Seat 2 is Coins. Everybody knows him. Seat 3 is going to be DQ. Everybody knows him. Seat 4, Mr. Andrew Nemi. You've heard of him as well. Doug Polk in the 5 seat, fresh off a runner-up finish in the Tuesday night free roll.
That lasted until 5 a.m.
He's playing, but he's back here this afternoon ready to mix it up. Table 11.
Under the lights.
Seat 6 making his Lodge Live debut is Chase. He's one for action. He puts on some monster straddles. Seat 7, Bradley Owen. Seat 8 is Chris coming in from out of town.
After I'm done notifying everyone on social media about the game, we almost immediately get into the action. Just a few hands in, DQ picks up Queen 8 of diamonds. He's not a fan of folding. He limps in for 20. Doug looks down at the jiggities on the button. He's not going to allow DQ to see a flop cheaply. He raises to 100 with the hand that should have been dealt to us. It's okay though. We've got Ace-King offsuit in the $10 blind. Remember, it's a 3-blind game. There's no way to know that Doug is going to be as strong as he is. We put in a 3-bet to 400. DQ doesn't want to bring his spoon to a gunfight. He folds. Doug could reasonably 4-bet in this situation. Instead, he elects to see a flop in position. He calls, we're heads up, and we'd like for one or more of the highest cards in the deck to come out. The dealer puts out 10-9-6 rainbow. I could have 3-bet with pocket pairs that connect with that flop, but since I didn't, and I want to see a card for free or for as little money as possible, I checked to Doug, who may have smashed the flop. As it is, he's got an overpair. It's vulnerable though. Doug won't want to see any overcards come out. He bets $275 to charge us if we want to make it to the turn. We're getting 4-1, that's a decent price to peel off one more card. We call. The turn is the Queen of Clubs giving us a gutter to go along with our 2 overs. I check, Doug checks back. I get the sense that he has something that he wants to get to showdown with, like king queen or queen jack, and he's just checking for pot control purposes. The river is the 5 of spades. When I put my opponent on a pair that he's pot controlling with, I don't want to play into his strategy by betting river as a bluff. I check once again. Doug realizes there's a good chance that his second pair is best. He goes with a large river bet of 900. There's nothing we can do. We fold. Doug, luckily, doesn't make us wait to see what he's got.
That's what I have, Brad.
Chickadees?
The chickadees! Wow!
What a read there. What a read there by Brad.
I'm glad we weren't getting bluffed, but we're still down and don't pick up much else at the start. Not long into the session, we're stuck 1100. I'm beginning to have fears that I may lose big once more and get deeper in the hole. In this hand, we see that Slicer in the 1 seat is straddled to 40. Chase limps in from the small blind with king queen. I don't realize this is straddled, and I think that it's been raised. I flat with ace 10 offsuit from the big blind. Chris calls for 20 more from the third blind, and the under the gun straddler checks. We're going 4 ways to the flop. The dealer puts out queen 10-6 rainbow. We've got middle pair, but we're second best. Without much hesitation, the small blind leads for 150 with his top pair. Folding or calling are both reasonable options. A lot of the time, the small blind will lead here with a weaker hand like bottom pair, middle pair, or a draw. I make the call hoping that no one behind me has hit this too hard. The third blind and under the gun straddle are both fold. It's down to heads up. The turn is the ace of diamonds. We smash it and improve to 2 pair. The opponent checks. He doesn't like seeing that he's been downgraded, although he picks up a gutter. We can't allow him to see the river without making him pay. We bet 325 for value. Chase isn't concerned about having 14% equity. That's about 12% higher than his normal turn calling threshold. He gets it in there hoping to improve, and he does. The river is the king of hearts, giving Chase a slightly worse 2 pair. It also puts 4 to the straight on board. I put Chase on some kind of Broadway draw, so I don't like seeing this card come out at all. Chase increases my concerns by color coordinating his wager with the hue of his shirt. It's 500 for me to call. I'm not thrilled. I've made a handful of bad river calls on prior streams. I don't want to add to it. I only beat blocker bets and bluffs. I can't think of too many hands that Chase would be bluffing with. It seems like he's betting for value to avoid allowing me the opportunity to check back. 2 pair is just too good to lay down. I call. Chase shows that he's got the lower 2 pair. On the inside, I'm pretty happy that we take down a 2K pot. I was likely going to check it if it was checked to me. We can't fault Chase for naming his price though. He won a big pot earlier on and is still up a few thousand. Meanwhile, we're just getting back to the even mark. Having the opportunity to rake in a pot helps settle some nerves that I pretty much always have at the beginning of any stream session that I play. About an hour into it, Slicer raises to 100 from the hijack with king-queen offsuit. I've straddled to 40 this hand from under the gun. We've got ace-5 suited and call for 60 more. We could have 3-bet there, but chose to keep it civil. It's heads up and we're out of position. The flop comes jack 7-6 rainbow. We've got 1 over and some backdoor draws. I check. The opponent thinks that he could be up against a hand like the one that we've got. He takes a stab as a bluff for 125. We could be best, and there are a lot of turn cards that'll help us improve, like any heart, 9, 8, 4, 3, or of course an ace. I've never liked quitting, except when it came to my job at the accounting firm. We chose the route with less variance pre-flop. Here we take the higher variance route and check raise to 400. King Queen isn't going to appreciate getting raised in this spot. We're representing hands that are going to have Slicer drawing slim. He folds without giving it much thought. Another one goes to us. We're still hovering around the even mark, and Slicer's going to get a second opportunity to beat us. The very next hand, he has pocket 3s in middle position. He raises to 75. There's no straddle on at the moment. It's a straight 5, 10, 20 hand. We call for 55 more, this time with ace deuce of clubs. We're heads up out of position for the second hand in a row against the same opponent. The flop comes 7, 5, 4 with 2 clubs. We've got the universe. I check to the pre-flop aggressor. Slicer knows that we're going to connect with this board fairly often after calling a raise from the third blind. He has a hand with some value that he'd like to see it turn with, and he just got check raised by us, so he checks back. The dealer puts out the jack of spades. It's a blank in this instance. We've seen some weakness from the opponent. We have a hand with potential, but we're running out of opportunities to realize it. We make almost a pot-sized bet of 150 as a semi-bluff. I'd expect Slicer to fold his 3s fairly often to this sizing since he could be drawing dead. Even if he's not, there aren't a lot of river cards that he's going to like seeing. A 6 gives him a straight, but it's to the low end, and he won't want to see a club. There's only one non-club 3 left in the deck as well. If he seemingly gets lucky enough to hit that, any 6 makes a straight, ace deuce also gets there for what it's worth. It's just tough for him to call a larger turn bet than somehow make a lot of money on the river. If you disagree with my assessment, let me show you what happens if the 3 of clubs comes out, for example. Remember, this is all hypothetical. It actually took me tons of time to CGI this and make it look as real as possible. I had to consult someone from Avatar. Anyway, we see that I've made the nuts, I've got the ace high flush and a straight just in case that's not good enough. I bet 600. It's 1.3 times the size of the pot. Slicer's going to hypothetically feel obligated to snap call since he's improved the bottom set. We'll turn over the best possible hand to win a decent sized pot. We'll be up $800 after being stuck over $1,000 earlier on. That's why it's good to consider folding threes if you're ever in that situation. Next we're in the cutoff. We raise to 100 with Queen 8 suited. Coins is the third blind with slightly better hearts. He calls with King 6. DQ calls immediately to defend his straddle with 6-3 of diamonds. We're going 3 ways to the flop, and we all have pretty garbage hands. The dealer Kevin puts out Jack 10-4 Skittles, as they say in Round Rock. We've got a gut shot straight draw with 1 over and a backdoor heart draw. Coins doesn't have much, yet he leads for 200, reinforcing what I said earlier about players typically being weak when they take these kinds of lines. Usually if someone is strong and they're first to act, they'll check raise or check call. DQ folds. I consider raising to represent a set, 2-pair, or an overpair. Instead, I call to give myself a chance to drill a straight and see if Coins has a hand that he wants to continue firing with. It's down to heads up. The turn is to ace of clubs. It's a card that'll be better for my range. I'll have hands like ace jack suited, pocket aces, ace king, and ace queen that I wouldn't expect the opponent to have. Coins doesn't like seeing the ace out there. He slows down and checks. I see an opening for us to steal this one. We've also picked up a double gutter. I bet 325 is a semi-bluff. Coins folds quickly, which I appreciate. We get one through. Neither of us had much. It's just an interesting scenario. It's not that often that we're in a spot exactly like this one. The very next hand, there's a double straddle on, and we raise to 200 with pocket kings and a hijack. Doug's the one guilty of double straddling. Someone made the observation that it looks like he got today's wardrobe out of Dr. Evil's closet. I don't know. I think it looks nice. Although I'm in the hijack, I was second to act pre-flop, and a raise from that position should be taken seriously and treated with respect. Doug's aware that my range will be narrow. He correctly chooses to call rather than 4-bet. I don't suspect that he's nearly as strong as he is. We're heads up in position. Doug smashes the flop as it comes ace-ace-jack rainbow. I actually don't mind it, figuring that this flop crushes my range and it isn't going to always connect with Doug's cards. Doug checks immediately. I bet 100 to try and keep him in with hands that are drawing slim, like smaller pocket pairs. I actually expect him to fold pretty often, even to a bet this small, since I can have combos consisting of quads, trips, and boats. This small sizing somewhat freezes Doug. Obviously, he can go with a check raise, but he doesn't want to blow me off my hand when he's as strong as he is. He just flats to ensure that I remain in. Once he calls, I start to become concerned. His worst hand might be something like 10-9 with a backdoor flush draw or something, but I have pocket kings, making it less likely that he'll have a straight draw with king-queen or king-10. It's also less likely that he'll have king-jack. I'm worried that I could be up against trip aces, but hopefully I'm only up against a pair of jacks. The turn is the 3 of diamonds. It's a blank. Doug checks again. I immediately check back because my girlfriend in high school cheated on me, and now I'm suspicious of everyone. The river is the 6 of diamonds. It's another blank. Doug knows that I have a river calling problem. It's rare to flop trips. He wants to get maximum value, so he overbets pot and fires for 900. If my cards were face up, he'd probably bet the same amount, anticipating a call. I have about the best hand that I'd ever play this way, so if I'm regularly folding in these spots, Doug can easily exploit me. I'm just having a hard time figuring out what he'd be bluffing with unless he got real creative by turning a small pocket pair or queen 10 into a bluff. To be honest, I wouldn't be super surprised if he folded those on the flop, since, as you can see, sometimes queen 10 will essentially be drawing dead. Small pocket pairs have some value, so they don't 100% need to be turned into bluffs. I don't think Doug would turn a jack into a bluff, or bet that much for value with one either. It's a tough decision for me because if anyone at the table is capable of finding some unique hands to bluff with, it's certainly Doug. It's just not that large of a pot relative to the game that we're playing. I fold face up at the risk of looking like an idiot. You can see that I'm not sure about it as I'm shaking my head and wincing. Doug relieves some of my angst as he reveals that he has trip aces. I'm incorrectly imagining that he probably had a small or medium kicker to go with it. He keeps his queen face down as he stacks his chips. I'm glad to have escaped that death trap, losing only $100 post-flop. We're trying to pick our spots wisely, without making too many big hands and actually avoiding some difficult situations. We've managed to remain in the green with a profit over 500. You know what would be fun? If the dealer Kevin gave us ace-king. Coins has ace-10 offsuit under the gun. He likes it and raises to 75. Wow, look at that. We've got ace-king on the button. There's a lot of demand for ace-king on the button, and when demand is high, the price goes up. We 3-bet to 250. It's 175 more for Coins to see a flop. He likes action and makes the call. We're heads up in position. The flop comes king 7-5 rainbow. We drill top pair and don't have to worry about overcards coming out. You can see that next to Coin's name, he only has 2% chance of winning this one. He checks. since I'll have the opponent crush so much of the time on a relatively dry board, and I'm not sure if the opponent will have a worse but strong enough hand to call multiple streets, I check back for deception and to allow the opponent to perhaps catch up if he has a hand like the one that he's got. The plan works out to perfection as the 10 of hearts comes on the turn, giving coins second pair. He checks. It's time for us to go for value to protect against hands like Broadway draws or Queen 10 and Jack 10. We bet 200. It's an affordable price for the opponent. Still, it's not the right price given the fact that he's a 19-1 underdog and he's getting less than 5-1 on a call. Coins calls. I don't blame him. There's no real reason for him to think that he's necessarily beat after how I played it on the flop. We're in great shape though.
So a sneaky check back on the flop will make Brad additional money here.
The 9 comes out on the river. I don't love it since Queen Jack makes it straight and 10-9 makes 2 pair. Coins checks. He only has 1,200 total. I first thought about jamming, but the hands that are worse than mine that I put the opponent on after he check called turn, want to check through on the flop, are hands like Queens, Jacks, Ace 10, Queen 10, and Jack 10. I doubt Coins would call an overbet shove with those. I go with another relatively small sizing to ensure that we get called by some worse holdings. I bet 400. If I get jammed on, I plan to fold because river check raise shoves just tend to be with the nuts so often. Given the fact that I've under-repped my hand, I'm not saying that's a good strategy, but that's what's going on with my inner monologue at the moment because Queen Jack is a plausible hand Coins could have. Coins gathers his chips and only flats the bet. I'm glad to see it. We turn over the winner. Coins shows the table what he called us with on the turn and the river. We win a nice pot to increase our profit. Here it's a straddle pot. Slicer's first to act with Jack 10 suited and raises to 100. We kept our cards from the previous hand. We 3-bet to 400. Slicer calls for 300 more. We're heads up out of position. The flop comes Queen 9-6 with 2 diamonds. We brick it. Still, we might have decent equity as is the case here, and we may be able to get some smaller pocket pairs to fold. Plus, we'd at least like to see a turn to perhaps spike a pair. I bet 300 not knowing that I don't want to hit a king. Slicer has an open ender and makes the call. I'm not going to be putting up too much of a fight for this one unless we significantly improve. The turn is to 5 of clubs, not good for our 3-bet range. I check. The opponent checks back. Maybe we'll get the showdown with the best hand. Nope. The river is the 8 of diamonds. There are 4 to the straight out there. The flush draw gets there. And Jack 10 also gets there. I check. The opponent is seeking retribution for my rivered flush earlier against his set. He bets 1,000 for value. I fold immediately. There's too much out there and there are better spots to take. This hand I've double straddled to 80. Coins is on the button with King Jack suited and about the same amount of chips I left him with after the Ace King versus Ace 10 hand earlier. He limps in. DQ wants to get involved. He calls for 80 as well. Chase has Queen 10 in the $40 straddle. He's getting half off and calls. We asked for Ace King earlier. Just call the dealer Kevin, the mailman, because he always delivers. We pick up Ace King 3 times in a short span. This time we're in the double straddle after several limps, so it's even sweeter. We raised to 500. It should look a lot like we're trying to punish the limpers with perhaps a weak hand. Instead, we've got a monster under these conditions. Coins probably should have shoved pre-flop with his smaller stack. He gets a second opportunity here and he makes the most of it by ripping it in for 655 total. You can tell DQ doesn't want to relinquish 9-8 offsuit. He's a true action player. He can't justify sticking around though. He folds. Chase folds the first second that he's allowed to. I call as soon as I'm allowed to for a small amount more. We're heads up with the best hand, but can we hold? The flop comes Queen 5-3 with 2 clubs. Coins has tons of outs. I wouldn't be too upset to run bad in this spot since it's a smaller all-in and I like coins. The turn is the 8 of hearts. There's only one more card to come for max pain if we get sucked out on. The river is a 6 of hearts. We hold on to win a $1,500 pot. We're not doing too badly on the day. In fact, we're almost up 2,000 and there's plenty more action to come. To make things more interesting, we agree to play the stand-up game. I've never played it before. This will be my first time. There's a huge incentive to win pots and to avoid being the last person standing. If you're not familiar with the rules, we'll let Slick Rick explain.
So the stand-up game, if you win a pot, you get to take a seat. The last person standing will toss an additional $100 kiss to the other 7 players. You do not want to be the last person standing.
This is the hand immediately following the last Ace King hand. We've straddled to 40, Slicer raised to 100 with King 9 offsuit, hoping to steal it and take a seat. DQ put in a blind 3-bet to 460. He doesn't like standing at all and is happy to dial up the aggression to earn his seat. We're in the straddle with pocket 9s. I really don't like standing either. I'm contemplating a 4-bet or a call. I go with a cold call for 420 more. Slicer doesn't want to get in the middle of DQ and me. He folds. It's down to heads up. The flop comes Jack 4-3 with 2 hearts. I check to DQ. He can put a ton of pressure on if he's in the mood. I certainly wish that I could have hit a set, or at least had some backdoor draws to fall back on. DQ is going to keep firing away. He bets 450. I'm not folding to a single flop bet. I call. I don't want to see any more overcards or too much more betting. The turn is another jack. This is a great card from our perspective. It's less likely that the opponent outflopped us. I check. DQ is worried that we've got a big hand, and we kind of do. He gives up and checks back. I'm beginning to suspect that he doesn't have much, certainly not trips or better. The river is a third jack. We make a backdoor full house the hard way. I check to induce a bluff from complete air type of hands. DQ isn't falling for it. He checks back. We turn over the winner and take down a 2K pot. I don't know if I'm more happy to win the money or more happy to not have to stand up anymore. Plus, I'm guaranteed to win an additional 100 once the stand-up game ends.
The last person standing has to throw a black chip to the other 7 opponents as a penalty.
Have a good night.
For not winning a hand. Final table Kev bids us adieu.
It's nice to be able to relax a little bit as the remaining players have to battle it out. Once it's over, we're up kind of a quiet 2,800. It's a 4K swing in the right direction from the low point for us, and it's come after taking down mostly small and medium-sized pots. Later on, DQ has Jack-10 suited and raises to 130 from the hijack. Andrew has a strong hand in the cutoff with Ace-10 of hearts. He's not going anywhere. He calls. We've got King-Queen offsuit in the $10 blind. This is a situation where I'd mostly fold if this weren't a streamed game. We're facing a 6.5x raise, then a call. We'll be playing out of position and we aren't suited. I call to get in the mix anyway. Gotta keep the VPIP up. We're going 3 ways to the flop out of position. The dealer puts out 7-5-3 with 2 hearts. It's good for our calling range. We'll have sets, overpairs, and strong draws. We check to the pre-flop raiser. DQ doesn't have anything and knows Andrew and I will have some monster hands. He checks. Andrew could take a stab at it, but may be worried that he won't get a fold from us. He checks his flush draw to ensure that he'll be able to at least see a turn and most likely a river since he won't be folding to a turn bet. The dealer puts out the 6 of diamonds. There are 4 to the straight on board. I don't think king high is good, but after seeing checks on the flop and another low card come out, trying to steal the pot seems like a good plan. The broadcast of the stream is on a 30-minute delay. I take a break from the game to hop into the commentary booth while the broadcast of this hand is taking place. Let's just listen to that to make things easier. Take it away, me.
This is going to be a board that really hits my range hard. I know king high is often not going to be good. I'll be up against some ace highs sometimes, and it seems like I can rep a 4 or a set or 2 pair hands. A lot of the times it'll fold through. So DQ folds. We have Andrew. He's going to call with this flush draw. And when Andrew calls, it sets off some alarm bells where, like, worst case scenario, he's going to have a flush draw.
I love all the Ben Simmons is
and then
forcing a
comes in.
game 5 return.
So I'm gonna. I figure he has a straight or a set or a flush draw, and likely isn't gonna let me take it down with a bluff. So I check to him, and he's not gonna be checking back.
Yeah.
You two go at each other. You're no more friends when you're at the poker table. He's going to try to get some Bradley dollars.
Yeah, and I snap fold, so he just takes back his bet before.
Yeah.
This is a wild inception moment. We're commentating on a hand that we're playing, all inside of a vlog. Get out your totems now. I don't know which reality is real anymore, especially since the stream ends showing that I somehow won $1,900. I typically don't win on the Lodge live streams in real life. I still have an uncapped 2550 streamed game scheduled in 2 days from this session that'll be highlighted in the next vlog. You won't want to miss that, but I'm at least relieved to get out of this session unscathed while I continue to chip away at the amount that I'm stuck at the Lodge. Played for 5 hours. I won 1880, and that was, for me, I didn't, there weren't a ton of crazy hands that I was involved in, but at the table there were quite a few. And you'll have to check out Andrew's channel and the Lodge live stream, or the Lodge live for the highlights, but some huge pots that Andrew and Doug were involved in. I'm just glad to get out of there with the win. I hadn't done well on the stream. And so it was nice to finally have a solid session and everything like that. So now we are headed out to do actually just like an employee's appreciation type thing. Yeah, man, no problem. I won 1880.
You won 1880?
Yeah.
I'm always rooting for you.
Thanks, dude. So yeah, we're gonna head out to the bar and just have an open tap for the employees. So that'll be cool. We make our way over to Eddie's Tavern, where we get a chance to hang out with the staff at the lodge and get to know everyone away from the tables. We get a great crew together. These guys are all a ton of fun to be around, and they're really the heart of the lodge. If you ever make it out to the club in Round Rock, Texas, you'll see that it's a special place, and it's because of them.
To the lodge, baby! Oh, Lord. I guess I'm driving home.
Remember how I said that Kevin, the dealer from the stream game, always delivers? Well, here he is again with a chance to deliver for his beer pong team.
Don't forget to like, subscribe to that channel, hashtag Brado and YouTube.
As Kevin just said, be sure to hit the like and subscribe buttons. It helps out the channel a ton. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to let me know in the comment section. I'm happy to get back to you. And let's see here. Yeah, this was just a nice session to play. I wasn't in too many difficult spots. The first trip out to Austin, when I was firing on the stream a bunch, there were just so many big hands, and I was running into the top of everybody's ranges. It was really tough. This session kind of just went more on my speed, where I ran pretty well for the most part and avoided the tough spots and booked a win. It wasn't a crazy win or anything for that game, but it was just nice to come out ahead. Be sure to check out the description box below. Going out to the WPT event in Oklahoma at the Choctaw Casino in Durant, and super excited about that. I'll be firing in the main event out there for the WPT, as well as a handful of other smaller events, and I'll be doing the meetup game May 12th there. And then from there, May 16th through the 23rd, I'll be at the Lodge in Austin, and then June 4th and 5th, I'll be at the Hustler Casino in Los Angeles. So hope to see you guys out there. Hope you're doing well. Stay safe. Good luck at the tables, and I'll see you next time.